Hey there guys, it's Chaos back again. So I'm back with the third and maybe last video for the night, and we're gonna go do another gameplay breakdown video, and this will be the third game in the list that I have here. As promised, we will be taking a look at my loss, and this is a loss to a lower deck strength. Looking at this deck is really similar to the last deck that we played. In fact, there's lower card levels and stuff like that, so we've seen what we did against Koala Man. Should have no problems, and the items between them. So what they've done differently is they dropped Big Bone for Cameron. So there's a lot of sacking power in this deck, so they should be able to up tempo a bit more. But looking at the items, this guy here has 2 Armored Darkness, but one of them is a gray item, so that's inferior, of course. And then they have, you know, like very generic 2-drop armors. And then they also have a Thief Cloak. This is a decent item. I don't hate it, but Falcon Mask, in my opinion, is a bit better. And then they got the flash cards here. This is a good card. This not as good as Poison Dagger, but what you're gonna do. Once again, I mean, you know, very similar play styles, very similar items, but I made one huge mistake. But once again, I was learning the deck. Literally, I made the deck maybe 10-15 games in. I was still learning it as I was going at this point. And I was testing stuff out. Like, I was testing to see if I could do... Well, let me just show you. I lost this game literally on turn 1. So I was testing to see if I could do it without having to sacrifice my turn 1 and, you know, like, just could have just played straight up. So I got to go second. Or, no, actually, I'm sorry. I am on top in this game because the winner shows on the bottom on replays. So let's look at the starting hand and see what we got. So I got 2 items that I cannot play on turn 1. So these are almost guaranteed to be sacked. If I don't sack these, I have to sack one of these guys. Now, I did not learn until after this game, Acolyte is sackable. If I get him on turn 1, the smart thing to do is probably to sack him to try to draw Void for turn 2. Because if I sack him and draw Void on turn 2, or draw Void on turn 1 and being able to sack him on turn 2, I could play this plus another card. So not knowing that, I did one stupid thing. I spent all 3 of my crystals playing this card naked. So I'm like, hey, I got 7 hit points, make me cry, right? So if you can't kill 7 hit points, you're gonna cry. But if you can, I'm gonna cry. That is a very huge gamble. And I even, like I said, because I looked at these 2 cards, I cannot play them this turn. They would just be dead cards in my hand. I threw the Obsidian Spear, which is always my go-to because it provides no armor, right? So I threw that away. I always play the long game if I can. And the reason why you do that is because now you look, if this guy doesn't die, I only get 3 crystals and I can only play him and or an armor. I'm not going to save Acolyte with an armor. If I drop Banner Parrot, great. But if a Void doesn't pop up, I got a naked Banner Parrot out there that could die on the next turn. That's a very bad play. So I sacked one thing, right? So I have 1. So even if this guy doesn't die, I have 4. And if he does die, I get 5. And if I get 5, then I could probably play this plus maybe get a Void or something, or sack another item card to play a second card. But my 3-cost tank is already out on the board, so that sucks. So now sacrificing that card gives me the 1 back to possibly play Chaos Dragon on the next turn. I mean, at least I have the ability to. So let's take a look at what happens here. I'm daring him to go and hit me really hard, right? So this is the power of sacking, or being able to sack with drawing a lot of cards. And this guy literally had just enough damage to kill me on turn 1. If I would have upgraded my Acolyte to max level, it would have lived. Now, the reason why that is a very stupid move and I lost in that first move, basically, is now he's got an established tank with an armor out front, and he's got a Wolf Spider that is already activated. And I need to drop 2 things to be able to kill this. I do not have the crystals to do that right now. I cannot drop a cheap thing and then Banner Parrot to kill this thing. Whenever you don't kill a Wolf Spider in this game, you're going to regret life. And I will regret life in this particular game. So if I would have skipped turn 1, he might have actually gotten a few more crystals in the bank, right? Assuming, let's say he gets 3 more crystals in the bank or whatever it might be. I would actually be the one doing the damage on whatever he drops first and not the other way around. Now, I could have lost a very important card. I could have lost well, you can't lose what you have out here, right? So Banner Parrot's my important card, right? So um, I could have lost a very important card like Blue Dragon, but regardless of which, it's still better than what had transpired. And this is the learning lesson that I learned from this game. From doing that, I learned that. Now, this isn't the first game that I did that. I did that in other games, but this is the game where it really clicked to me. So let's go take a look at what I do next. I, of course, drop my tank, right? Because you cannot drop Banner Parrot. And when I dropped Chaos Dragon, Goblin came up. So between the two, I had to make a decision. Now, me pausing this really speeds up time, unfortunately. It doesn't pick up exactly where it is, so you don't get the thinking process and things like that. Between Banner Parrot and Goblin, now, retrospectively thinking about it, Goblin does more damage, and I could have hit 2 targets. Now, if Goblin would have actually hit, like, say, a 5 here and got rid of the armor and allowed, you know, this guy to either kill one of these guys, that would have been a good move, but I'd rather get the sure thing and kill Wolf Spider. Like I said, if you don't kill Wolf Spider when you have a chance, you're doing yourself a disservice, and my old rule was if you could kill something, you do it. So I dropped him, and I got rid of Goblin. I needed to maximize the board advantage, or at least take it away. Like, now I'm in the hole. I'm playing from behind. They're setting the tempo. They get to do what they want. I'm reacting to it instead of the other way around. So that was a forced move. I did not want to sack Goblin. It's a very good card, but I had to. Now, think about this. If I would have skipped turn 1, right, I would have avoided that situation. I would have lost a card that I probably would have liked, but I would then be forcing the tempo. They would have to reply to me. But in this scenario, I lost a card anyways, and now I'm responding to them. This is why skipping turn 1 is so important. So instead of sacking one of these, right, I would have gotten rid of the glove and or this. Like, honestly speaking, I'd rather do that, but I did not have enough crystals. And unfortunately, Void Element came after that. So this is as bad of a draw as you can get. Not as good as the last game, so that's a learning curve. So Wolf Spider dies on demand, and I got a great roll. So can't ask for anything more, right? But that was huge. So once again, this guy is sacking again. So that's 3 cards that he went through sacking, and he's got no remorse. Threw in the Armor of Darkness, the first one, to really screw up this rotation. So that's good play on him. And there's not much I could do about that. Now, luckily, because these 2 guys, if this guy would not have died, I could have dropped another tank in the front and I would be back in business. But unfortunately, that isn't the case. So with this Armored Darkness, it worked out perfectly, and he actually used the Detonate on my Banner Parrot, so it will die from Muscalard. So that was a really good play. Once again, they get to dictate the tempo, they get to tell me what they want to do, and this is Wolf Spider doing Wolf Spider stuff. So I had no chance to avoid the arrow with flying, unfortunately, because of the... Now, there was a decision to be made there. Do I drop... do I drop my Blue Dragon? And the reason why that is because I have nothing to follow up. I can't drop anything else. And not being able to put armor on Blue Dragon had basically lost me this game again. And this is because, once again, I was out of tempo. I was three crystals short, basically. I was the first one to get hit. I was the first one to lose a monster. And that really messed the tempo up because that was a -2 move, just dropping that. And on top of not skipping turn 1, it's almost like -5. So dropping Blue Dragon really sucks, especially when this guy's entangled, because once again, what's not happening? I'm not getting rid of Wolf Spider. So y'all know how that goes. So they could have literally wiped me off the board in that one turn, but luckily I got flying and it proc that time. So I finally sacked my last card. This comes out. Now, here's the thing. I had 2 remaining crystal. I could have killed the Wolf Spider, but I chose not to. And that's another mistake. Remember the rule, if you could kill something, you probably should. So they had the second Armor of Darkness on this guy. Now, I gave him such an elixir advantage that I botched this game up from the beginning, that it could even use this armor. This armor costs 4. That's really hard to use. And they did it. And kudos to them for having a deck that, you know, you can move cards like that, especially with really expensive cost cards and stuff like that. So the turn transpired where I got hit with, I think, Succubus. And this guy really just didn't get to stay on the board much. And luckily I got flyings, and like I said, this is why this guy's good as a tank, right? Now, I tried using Armor of Darkness, but Armor of Darkness didn't trigger for them. So with them not triggering because of the Inspire, it was really purely just for the protection's sake. Because this guy, of course, comes out after I use this freaking card, so what you gonna do, right? Now we look at the hand here, and I look like, oh, maybe I could tank a couple of hits, great. But now my Obsidian Spear is already gone. So this is like the worst case scenario. This guy in spot 3, it wouldn't be coming into play until the very end. And this guy still has a card left. I don't know what it is, but chances are it might be a blue dragon, right? So this guy, because of that one mistake, like I said, that one thing where I was trying to be greedy to save that 2 crystal, has time and time and again entangled. Can't do nothing about that. And then I finally decided to kill him, like about 8 turns too late, right? So now with them, they're gonna go to town again. So I got flying, but guess what? I just said, you know what? I know mathematically I cannot kill this. When they had Muscalard out on the front and they were able to drop armor, and I was not able to respond with the same thing with the flying creature, they could literally let me hit them every turn and just drop cheap armor on Muscalard, and that repeat process would have happened time and time again. This is what dictating the tempo means. And this is what happens when you have a game where you fall behind on tempo. When you do not control the board, like I said, my board or my deck is controlling spots 2 and 3. I never got to do that. Wolf Spider have free reign to entangle like entire game the whole time. So me not doing what my deck tempo pushes allow them to do what their deck tempo does, is to secure spot 1. And that Muscalard never moved, didn't even get hurt, and it just kept wearing cheap armor over and over again. Basically me dropping my tanks trying to go ahead and drop something else so I could secure spots 2 and 3. Never got a chance to do that. So that first turn is where I learned, and then the rest of the games going forward are going to be a lot smoother, with or without Void Element coming out first. Now this is really nice for those 3 series of games, because the first 2 games was a really easy decision making in the start. I had Void Element and I sacked them. That was really easy. This is the first game where I didn't have it in this list of 3 games. Now, like I said, I played more games than this. I've lost more in the past. But this is where my learning curve has started to come up a little bit, and I got some lucky rolls. One thing about this game is that you might think you're good, you might think you got a really great deck, but you will lose a game just because of the rolls. That happens. You cannot mitigate that. That will happen even if you had made all the right decisions. But at least with the next few games that I have, and all of these games, you know, less the bot games, I've won all of them. So like I said, consistency can be had if you know what you're doing. So that is game 3, and you know, losing sucks. I hate talking about it because I made mistakes, and I really wish I could have found out what could have happened if I didn't. But you gotta find the edge to know where you're not, you know, you can't cross. So if you never lose, you really don't know where your limits are. But having crossed that line, now I know where the line is established, and the line is don't drop Acolyte on turn 1 like an idiot. So knowing that is huge in letting you play this game properly, and I think it's a good learning curve, and it's good for you guys if you guys are following the series to see this. So once again, this is game 3. Next game we're going to be going up against a deck, probably not going to be this one. I'll screen it. It's probably not going to be Wombi. Probably maybe this deck, but whatever it might be, there's some crushing wins in some of these replays that are going to be coming up that, you know, people just surrender and stuff like that. So that happens at higher ranking, but it is what it is. I know I'm rambling a bit, so thank you guys for watching again, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.